Hi, I'm...
And I'm... And we're...
The Ghouls next street? I don't know, something different.
Just slightly different, but they can't find us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghouls next door.
You can't find us. It's a secret. We are undetermined. We are... anonymous.
Yeah, there. Anonymous.
Yeah.
We're not really here. It's not real.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this super secret episode that
No one
can't be
can
found
hear,
elsewhere.
but the people we want to hear.
Yeah. Getting the message out to the people that we're being watched.
You've hacked the podcast.
We're all being watched.
You sound like very conspiracy.
Well, it is. It's the truth. Because today we're talking about surveillance in our Horrors of Society episode.
Yeah, so they're watching us.
Yes.
Moral of the story. Did you know?
Yes.
They're watching us. So maybe hide. I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
Move to Moscow.
Yeah.
There's not many options.
Yeah, I guess you could move to Moscow.
I don't know if you're not being watched there either, though. So it's
No, you're 100% being watched and manipulated there, Snowden. Sorry. So we will be talking about what the government is doing to watch you. We'll talk about ways to safeguard against it.
And why it's scary.
Yeah. And we're also going to be talking about some video games and movies in which this idea is depicted.
Yeah.
Cool.
Stay tuned, I guess.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts.
All right, hi, friends. I know you can't really see me because I'm great at hiding myself, especially if you're listening, because then you can't see us anyway, and these are whispers.
That's true.
So you're welcome.
It's a secret.
Secrets. In case y'all didn't know, ever since the technology's existed for it, the government's been watching us.
Mm-hmm.
And they also, haven't been that subtle about it. I feel like we know. We know. They tell us. We just don't care. We care when we, are told we should. Mm-hmm. And then all the other times, it's just, we're lazy or it's inconvenient to care.
Or it's just, again, it's the whole frog in the boiling water thing.
Yeah.
We're just used to it. It's our whole existence.
Or it's just, you don't think, they're watching you.
Yeah. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, let me get into that whole situation. So moral of the story is, we've been known. We know that we've been being watched.
Yeah.
It's been here this whole time. The terms and conditions are really long. We don't want to read all of that. We're just going to scroll down to the bottom, hit yes, and go on with our lives. Mm-hmm. It's convenience. But I don't think, we really get, the true depth. I know I don't get the true depth. I was, thinking about that all week. I was just wow, all right. We always joke about it. I'll say something about murder, because, that's something I say.
Yeah.
And then, if that was taken out of context,
mm-hmm.
I would go to jail. And I'd be like, what do you mean? I've never murdered nobody. And they'll be like, well, you said you did, or you said you thought about it. We count that as premeditated. I'm like...
Yeah, I know someone who had a conversation about Black Lives Matter. He's a journalist and was brought in to the police department because of a conversation he had on Facebook about it. He wrote a whole paper about it, but I won't go out there because we're being secretive this episode.
I was nervous looking stuff up.
Yeah.
I was
I had that thought too. I was
looking up a lot of surveillance stuff. I was like, how's the government watching us? I Googled Snowden's name so many times. And I was like,
you were definitely on a list somewhere.
I'm on a list now. They're going to be watching me. They're going to be like, oh, she's taking notes.
Now, everyone you know and love is also on that list. And everyone they know and love is also on that list.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, they might have already been on the list.
Yeah, but you get three degrees.
Yeah.
It's to Kevin Bacon, but instead it's to surveillance.
But yeah, so they've been doing this. And we knew. I remember being in 7th grade and the Patriot Act had just come out. I was really... My grandpa and I would go to Olive Garden and he'd tell me about politics every Monday night. And then Tuesday night, or Tuesday day, because school's in the daytime, I would go to school and I'd be like, I'm smart today. I know stuff.
Yeah.
He told me about the politics. I'm smart and I'm about my stuff. Ask
Yeah.
me questions, teacher. And I definitely had a complex every day I came into school on Tuesdays. So we went to Olive Garden and he'd be like telling me about the Patriot Act and how it's like bad and how like it goes against our rights and the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment, and then they're like watching us, and it's like they say it's just for terrorists, but like they're watching everybody and it's not cool. And I remember my teacher, who I had not said anything in this class, I was just like,
Yeah.
school. I'm not gonna try. He's like, how do we feel about the Patriot Act here? Someone raise your hand who can tell me what it is. And I was like, it is an abuse against our Fourth Amendment rights. And he looked at me like, I didn't even know you knew what amendments were.
Yeah.
You've said no words all year. Wow. Okay. And then like there was definitely like a crappy like angry man kid, this little grumpy kid that like. Like, my
super
parents
Republican.
are Republicans, so
Yeah.
you need to find the terrorists. And I was like, shut up. They're gonna spy on you because all you do is talk about terrorists. He was
What
like,
a time we had.
I was kind of
An
like,
adventure.
I was like really mad about it.
Yeah.
Because my grandpa taught me about it. And I was like, my grandpa wouldn't lie.
That's
he
true.
knows stuff. So I know stuff now.
Yeah.
But it's like, luckily, my grandpa was like a democratic liberal man.
Yeah.
Who was not crappy and like really trying to be about his stuff.
Yeah.
And not the other way, because I feel like I would have maybe been the other way.
Yeah.
Because I was like, my grandpa's God. I believe everything he says.
Yeah.
He tells me facts. I reiterate them as if they are my words.
Yeah. The first time I went for voting, my mom voted for Bush instead of Al Gore, and I was really sad. But I do remember that Al Gore won like our school vote, and because I voted for Bush because I was like, I don't know what this is. And then when he actually won, I was like, that's weird, because like he definitely, those recounts for Florida, which is where I was, were a lie based on the knowledge, because like those kids were voting by what their parents said.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it was fudged.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Essentially, they started the Patriot Act post 9/11. Everyone was real scared. They were like, we need to fight terrorism. This is the war on terrorism. We're going to get all of the terrorists. We're going to find them. They're all here. Mm-hmm. We need to find them. We're going to listen to everyone's phone calls. It's totally legit. Don't question it. And no one questioned it, except for people who were doing it or people who were real, like, upset and new and were stressed. But like we found out, and we were still kind of just like, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
But all right.
Yeah.
Snowden's a good guy. I'm glad he told us. That's nice. Mm-hmm. But then, like, no one really did anything about it. We're just kind of going about our lives, We have all the evidence, and we're just like, it'd be inconvenient to, like, start a revolution. So
yeah.
It's
or
fine.
to put tape on your webcam, Catherine. They're watching you.
Literally right now.
Yes. They're watching you.
So it's like we really don't think about it. So it's like the government has been watching us. They have all these ways to watch us. So specifically, like if we're talking about Snowden, he talks a lot about metadata and NSA and FISA and basically how they take data that like is from our phones and our computers, and they aren't always like watching our conversations, but they're tracking us in terms of like where we have been, like where we're going. It's kind of like just like an outline of what's our lives are. And it's actually interesting because really now, like basically now, the ACLU is working on passing like a law to protect us further and like further amend the Patriot Act. So I think there was like a second one where they're like, all right, let's cut some of this out. They told on us, so now we got to act like we care. Clones, whatever,
Yeah.
We're just like, we got to act like we have a moral standard.
Yep.
America, la-da-da. Let's add some rules that we are not going to follow. It's really fine.
Rules that other people think we're following, but we have ways to go around it.
Yeah. So today, according to ACLU, the people who fight these things, Congress is like very close to passing the Safeguarding American Private Records Act of 2020.
Yeah.
So is introduced by a bipartisan group of Democrats and Republicans, specifically Senator Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, and Daines, a Republican from
Montana?
Montana, is a state. Cool. I forgot Montana was a state. I was like, that's a city. And I was like, no, that's dumb. It's definitely a state. I'm sorry, America and the world, for me messing up just now with ignorance. So the bill is responsible, or bill is in response, essentially. Like, they know we've been spying. They know we're here. They're taking all our stuff. It's basically they're abusing the system day after day after day after day.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like, all right, let's do something about it, probs. Specifically because they're spying on, like, Trump advisors. They're spying on people, like, who are in the government, like, basically not using evidence and impeachment. You know, they're spying on everybody and using it conveniently.
Yeah.
Essentially. And illegally. So they're, like, arresting people, and then, like, it'll happen later where it's like they can't keep... They have to throw out the cases because they obtained the information illegally. There's a Temple professor that it happened to, actually. Yeah. And they were like... They basically arrested him and were like, hey, we're going to sue you now because you tapped my phone records without permission. So, like, you didn't have a warrant, guys.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. It's illegal. Okay? Yeah. So they're trying to, like, pass protections. And it's essentially a reform to Section 215 of the Patriot Act, which puts basically an end to the phone record, the call record program. So it's like they can't keep our phone records anymore is the goal. They still will.
Yes.
But it'll just be more illegal.
They won't have new ones.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is they've been tracking our metadata. So I remember watching something on YouTube with Snowden talking. He's like, it's just like a map of our day. They see where we go to the bank. They see what websites we log into. They see, like, where we use our debit card. Like, our bank account is a map of where we've been. Yep. And they use that metadata either to, like, for advertisements, or they use it to, like, track where we are and what we're doing and, like, place us in situations. And, like, kind of put pieces of a puzzle together without the context of what actually is happening.
Yeah.
And it's just dangerous because, like, those things could be used against us. Essentially. So the ACLU is doing a lot to, like, fight these things. They've been really about it. They've been on it. They've been reading. They know all the information. So if you want to know more about all the ways that the United States is spying on you, you should check out their website.
Yeah.
Because there's endless articles that are very long and filled with court documents and lots of smart stuff that I just can't talk about this whole episode because we'll never be done. Yeah. Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we have evidence of the years upon years that we've been abusing these powers. There's, like, court documents of the Snowden trial and, like, or not the trial, but, like, his indictment, essentially, where they're like, hey, you did stuff. What did they call it?
I don't know.
It's conspiracy?
Oh, it was the, man, what was it?
Espionage?
Espionage Act, yeah.
Yeah,
it's the Espionage Act.
And I think another thing that really gets me about that is, like, the fact that the government can straight up do all these things in secret. So, like, they can have trials without a jury of your peers if you send information to a journalist. It doesn't say good or bad information. Just information. Yeah. You don't get a trial. You just get locked up. Yeah. Snowden with on YouTube, he was like, yeah, they said they wouldn't torture me. But, like, I didn't think that was really good enough. So I'm going to stay here. Yeah. In Russia.
Because he wants it to be a jury by peers.
I'm not in jail, so that's cool.
Yeah, at least not in, like, physical jail. But he is in Russia.
Ironically, is like he said that he'd come back to work for the government once they came to their senses. I was like, what?
I'm not surprised by that.
All right, dude. But then, like, so it's topical. So right now we know the coronavirus is going around. Yeah. People are stressed about it. And what other thing does a government do than manipulate fear as a way to push their political platform that has previously been thought of as very controversial? China is using the coronavirus spread essentially to push facial recognition.
Nah, that's weird.
Huh?
So it's weird.
They're trying to use the fear of it spreading to, like, basically validate the tracking of people to provide safety to everybody. So there's a bunch of articles specifically I got ones from Azera.com, I got Time.com, I got TheAtlantic.com.
Yeah.
All of them saying the same thing. And that, like, they were already trying to really push this, like, facial recognition, a lot of technology, like, surveillance at its finest, essentially, across China, but they're really pushing a lot of things through because of the fear associated with the coronavirus. And that, like, people are really panicking and they want to feel safe. And there's people who, like, don't want to be spied on, but also feel safer now that the cameras exist. So that's kind of like the gist of what I've gotten from the articles. But there's also lots of people who feel like that's a very large infringement upon their freedoms.
Yeah.
And, you know, we see people developing ways to dodge facial recognition. So there's what we're doing. Hood, we got a hat, we're covering our face, you know. That's not enough, but it's a step, you know what I mean? But there's people who've been inventing things that basically will block facial recognition. So a lot of suggestions were like, put a photo in front of you. You put a photo near you, it just makes the camera get confused, essentially.
Yeah.
They have where you put a mask of someone else's face on your face.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a guy who's his whole thing is that he sells his face. That's this like photorealistic face, and it's just his face. So that like there'll be a bunch of people, but it all is being recognized as just one man, but hundreds of them walking through a city.
It's like, which one's the real one?
Yeah,
We don't know.
and it doesn't matter. And it's a way to kind of see like what they're saying. And that's the URME is the site for that if you want a creepy mask.
Yeah, go for it. There's also like these really cool like metallic glasses face things that are like making your face into art. And there was another article I read that was basically just like, paint your face like you're going to a kid's party. Like, change your hair up while you're at it. And I was like, all right. That just sounds like look weird in public so that the government can't see you. And it's like, I
but there's
get
always
that
these
too.
masks that like distort your face.
Yeah. But I feel like I would feel very uncomfortable myself just wearing a mask in public.
Yeah.
I feel like I would feel stressed.
Now but if everyone was doing it, and then we can like, you know, make those cameras inaccessible or unusable. The same way, like if you have a certain license plate thing, if you, like a camera tries to catch you, like your license plate, the flash will, or the camera interaction with that thing will make it so that you can't see their license.
Well, it's like, yeah, all this stuff is cool. What I'm saying is that they're going to make it illegal. And it's just like, then we lose a whole chunk of the population that would be protesting with us, essentially, to be like, all right, well, I don't want to go to jail.
Not if we don't, I'll do it. And also there's like art and stuff as well. If it becomes something that's like a norm, then it's hard to fight against. And it's hard to argue that it's a problem.
I guess that's true.
Unless it's like mandatory that your face is on cameras outside.
Well, I basically just don't have faith in humanity to unite to do anything ever.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I don't want to be a depressing human. But, like, I really would be like, there's going to be some people who just don't do it.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
But I want us to unite against the oppression. I'm just saying, lots of people suck. I like the cool metallic face thing where it makes your face art. I think that would be my favorite one.
Yeah.
I wanted to wear those tonight, but we can't order them in time for them to arrive to our house. Or I also suggested that I wear your face and you wear my face.
But then we're still both being monitored.
I know, but I can get you in trouble and then it's fun. It's like pranks.
No.
Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those.
So we watched and played some stuff.
Yeah. We played some video games.
Yeah.
To simulate fear. They can't see me? They can't see me?
No, they're not allowed. So, yeah. So first we played a game.
Yeah, we played Orwell, which is dope. I was so about it. Developer Osmotic Studios. Like Osmosis Jones, but not. Big Brother has arrived, and it's you! Investigate the times of citizens to find those responsible for a series of terror attacks. Information from the internet, personal communication, and private files are all accessible to you. But be warned, the information you supply will have consequences.
Yes, it's the lives of citizens.
Yeah, I want to spoil
times.
some stuff, because I messed up my playthrough. I super messed up.
How?
I got myself arrested.
Oh. I
And then
dismantled
also
the
they all
system.
got arrested and they were all bad. They were all sad about it.
Oh. I dismantled the system from the inside.
How did you do that? Because I tried and then it just said I was arrested and I got really stressed.
I don't know. I don't remember. It was a while ago. Because this came out in 2013.
Yeah.
And I played it pretty recent after it had come out.
Yeah.
And then I also, when the second one was circulating, like when it, I
just downloaded
pre-ordered
it last night.
Yeah, and then I only played like the little intro that they gave because they were still making it, and then I haven't gotten around to it again.
Well,
but
I just
pre-ordered
bought it yesterday, so we could
have
play
that
again
option.
when it's no longer relevant for our episode. But it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
fun.
It is. It's one of my favorite games. It was very unique. Essentially, you are Big Brother, right? You are the government. You're watching people. It is under this guise that, like, there is a bombing in Freedom Park. I don't know if they could be any more heavy-handed than what they're saying. And then they use that as, like, the explanation for why you need to watch the citizens to find the people who are rebelling and...
With a thought.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, use the things they say to then gain access to other people, to then gain access to the big people, and then even sometimes cause death.
Yeah, it caused a death.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it was bad. It was sad.
But
did a
very
bad
exciting. We also watched something.
Yes.
So we watched Snowden from 2016, directed by Oliver Stone. The NSA's illegal surveillance techniques are leaked to the public by one of the agent's employees, Edward Snowden, in the form of thousands of classified documents distributed to the press.
Yeah, that's what happened, I guess.
It's a very long movie.
I enjoyed it. I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I do
had a
like,
nice
and
time.
he did a really good job of like doing his voice and his like mannerisms and the way that
you could tell he
talks.
really acted.
Yeah,
It was good.
he did. Yeah, I always enjoy him.
Oh, me too.
So I was like excited. That was like primarily why I picked it.
Yeah.
It was like there's a documentary Citizen 4, and I was like, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt though.
I watched the other one while you were at work, so I watched both.
Nice, you
We
got
don't gotta
information.
talk about the documentary that much because it was, as you were expecting, like very long
Yeah.
and not captivating.
Yeah. The movie was fun. I will say that. It was very like if you kind of sit back and just enjoy it as like a suspense thriller kind of thing. Like Eagle Eye or something with less running. And when I was watching it, the one thought I had was like, I wonder if Edward Snowden ever in his life imagined that if there were a movie about him, it would star Joseph Gordon-Levitt and would feature a rather long sex scene.
Yeah.
With Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Shailene Woodley. Like, I was like uncomfortable because I was like, why? And I get why, because it was like he was paranoid because then the camera was on.
Yeah.
And so it was like they could be watching him, but I was also like, dude, it's so long.
It was a long
such
sex
a long
scene, yeah.
sex scene.
And it's like you just see her full butt.
Yeah. Full butt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, it's like, I don't know Joseph, what's his name? Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
He was hard to like.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess from the phrase at the end where he was just like, I have to, like, it's hard for me to socialize or be personable, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think he just isn't, like, in real life. So I think, he was just doing the same thing because he's just like that. Yeah. It was an experience. I would have never watched it if it weren't for this podcast.
Oh, yeah, no, me neither. And I just thought it was interesting. So it's like, even in watching, like, the real interviews where it was like, he still wants to do it, though, even though he's, like, mad about it. Mm-hmm. Like, he left the country specifically to escape such things.
Yeah.
I'm not good at being covert. But, like, he did that. And then, like, still was like, oh, if they asked me back, I would.
Yeah. They won't. I want to dive in. There's a bit. I wrote a lot, but I'm not going to say it all. I'm going to summarize stuff. One, a thing that I thought about, or a film I thought about when we started doing the surveillance, I already talked to you about this, Kat, was actually The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Because it was such a great representation of the Bush administration and the Patriot Act. Because essentially, Batman was like, Joker's doing all kinds of stuff, and we need to find him in the needle in this haystack of people's cell phones. So he used it to make that like image. He hacked everyone's cell phone, and is it like Lucius or whatever?
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's character was like, "We can't do this. The integrity and ethics," and he's like, "We have to. We have to
throw those ethics out."
Where is it? And all that stuff. So it was literally just like, it was essentially the heightened surveillance that we encountered after 9/11.
Yeah.
In the war on terrorism.
Fear makes us do stuff.
Yeah. And I remember also in school learning about how throughout history people have like given up their securities in favor of being protected.
Oh, all the time.
Their privacy and all that. Like the times in war when we're just like, sure, have the soldiers come into our house.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Oh, sure, let's initiate stop and frisk. Yeah. I'm looking at you, Mike Bloomberg. Anyway.
100% fear.
Yes. So let's dive into Orwell. Yeah. So it was really fun, but also very stressful. It was hard for me, and I'm very surprised I even got through it because it was like really hard to like watch people, and the whole time I felt just like skeevy. Like, I just felt uncomfortable, and, like, I was like, ooh. It'd be like, check their email, and then when you're in their desktop and you see your kids as her desktop screensaver, like, wallpaper, you're just like, oh, no, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do this.
That's funny. I felt no emotion at all.
No, I felt very uncomfortable the whole time.
I was just like, haha, that's cool. I'm in their computer. What? Nice. Hack, 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 hack.
No.
It's totally good, because this isn't real.
I know. I'm like, well, I'm also like super empathetic of a person. And I was definitely like,
okay.
I'm just saying that's.
I'm also empathetic. It was fake people, though.
Yeah. But I also like feel very strongly about Roombas. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Like, yeah. So I totally bought into it and was like super uncomfortable. But I did it like kind of from this viewpoint of like, I want to see what is going on.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess like if people perceive Snowden to be this hero, they could think that he was doing that and did it as long as he did because he was trying to like break it from the inside, which is what my whole goal was. That wasn't what he did, but
yeah, that's why I rolled my eyes, not at you.
Yeah,
at him.
They can't see it, but in it you do like you're essentially working for this agency to find them, right? There's this concept of this relationship tree kind of thing, which is brought up in Snowden and also like in his reports and stuff, which is this idea that like if the government has a good reason, quotation, to investigate one person, then they have cause to now investigate the people around them, which means then they have cause to investigate the people around them, and then it blossoms out and it's like out and out and out, and it was like really wild how you get from like point A to Z and you're like, wait, who is this person who's like 10 degrees from this original person? And it's like, so even the people who are like, I don't have anything to hide, you're being watched too. Like, it doesn't matter. No one is safe.
I was all up in those people's computers.
Yeah. The thing that I really took, like, that I found most unsettling was that, so the computer system and like the higher ups only get the information you send to them. So you can pick and choose. So there's some things like, of course, you'd send like an address or something, but there's certain like conversations and stuff that you can withhold or you can send. But they're only getting whatever it is that you send them. So there was this time when there was like this turn of phrase, like, I'd kill for one of those or something like that. And I sent it because I was just sending stuff to try to like move forward.
See, that's what I did, I was like
stuck.
I sent everything.
Yeah, so I was like stuck in this thing where I was like, oh, and that's why I would say contradictory.
Yeah.
Right. So I sent it because I was like trying to figure out my way out of here, and it like popped up and it was like, so they will kill for something. I was like, no, this is like, that wasn't real. Like the rest of the conversation was there, but I couldn't highlight that and send that. And then it was too late. Like they already had this like, and they're like, that's cause for us to go and investigate this. And I was like, oh no, like she just said she'd kill for some shoes or something.
Yeah.
And I just like totally like ruined her life. And I was like, they could do that. Like, they could literally take anything out of context and be like, well, you said this.
Murder things.
You say murder all the time.
I do. I volunteer it.
Yeah. Recently, I played this other game on my Switch, but you can play it on your cell phone, called Normal Lost Phone.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
And I was very hesitant to download it and play it. It was cheap, but I was just like, the same reason for Orwell, where it's like, I don't want to look through this person's phone. I just, like, it's fictional, but I'm like, ooh, it feels dirty. But I downloaded it.
I'd be a bad person.
No.
I'd be like, yes.
And I think
Show me
that's
their
why people
stuff.
do. But I was like, I'm going to do it so that I can have something to talk about on the Ghouls. So
Yeah.
so I did it for science and
Yes.
investigating. So I play this game, and it's similar in that you have access to the person's phone, and you're reading text messages, emails, looking at their pictures. Eventually you get their passwords. You're on their dating app. Then you're on these message boards. And their life and their trauma is filling out in front of you. And it's very personal and very, like, it's like part uplifting and part really, really sad. And there was this part where when I first started playing, the phone orientation was like in the middle of my screen. And I was like, it said that you can turn it, but like it doesn't coordinate with my phone, my Switch. So I had to go into the settings and then say like landscape mode or whatever.
Yeah.
And in there it said like erase all data. And I was like, why would someone do that? That's the whole game. And then at the end, there's like a conversation where the person's like emailing, and they're like, I'm finally safe, like I left my phone, it's unopened, and I hope no one gets it. And then their friend is like, well, hopefully that person's a good person and will like erase it. And I'm like, yes, of course I'll erase it for you. And I like felt so I was like, I'm so sorry I snooped on you in your super sad life. I'm so happy you found someone who cares about you. So that was my experience with that. But it's just like, imagine someone gets in your phone. Now we have like phones that like are facial recognition, that if police want to get into your phone, all they have to do is hold up your phone to your face. It's unlocked now. Do not use that. Do not use facial recognition on your phone. You think it's cool and fun with your little eyes and stuff, but now you don't have any protection if the police want to search your phone.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Like, just be conspiracy theory lady here. They can literally, while you're handcuffed, be like, boop, now I have access to everything in here. You're not safe. So don't do it. Trust no one.
Yeah, it's dumb. I agree with you.
The Guardian has this really great game or article about the game called Hack Spy Swing an Election. Orwell game sums up life in a tech dystopia, and it summarizes the game by saying, George Orwell's 1984 depicted an oppressive totalitarian state where civilians had no choice but to ignorantly obey its power structures. The Orwell games highlight that in real life. Ours is a self-surveillance society with willing participants. With the growth of smart technology, we continue to grow more accustomed to being surveyed. We give our personal information away to social networks, phone apps, websites. Even though the extent of this information is now common knowledge, we aren't stopping.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
We're just like, it'd be really inconvenient to care about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read those terms and conditions. I'm just going to sign my life away. It's totally cool.
Yeah. Like, I continuously will consider downloading the special app that's like for messaging so that you can like have encrypted messages and no one like can do it. But the whole thing is like other people have to download it. I was like, the people I care about are not going to download this app. And like, I can't send photos because it's not allowed.
Yeah.
Or you can't download photos from the app or something.
I definitely signed my life away to use the GIF keyboard.
Yeah.
It was like, we could use your credit card information. Or we like, if you type important information in this, like...
Yeah. The only thing that I'm like worried about is like for my phone, when I buy stuff on Google Store, I do my fingerprint.
Yeah.
So like do it so I don't have to type in my password because I'm always on Webtoons. And it'll be like $1 and you can get FastPass. And I'm like, okay. Like fingerprint. I was like, it's $1. I've spent it like 3 times this month because I want to get, on that action.
It's convenience.
But, yes, it's convenience, and it's something that we've already like lived with our entire lives as millennials who've lived in a post 9/11 world for the majority of like our like sentient adult lives, right? Like we couldn't even fathom a world where you're not being surveyed.
Yeah.
And like that technology isn't so pervasive, right? Like so it's foreign to think of like that is a problem, or not so much a problem, like we know it's a problem, but to think that there's any alternative. It's like we just have to do this in order to live efficiently. Yeah. So like even like the idea of living off the grid seems like impossible. I couldn't imagine. So the second series, Orwell, Ignorance is Strength, which is another play over there to 1984, actually goes in further, and it's more about societal control, and you're like becoming an influencer on their app, which is like Twitter, but it's called Blabber, and you're like influencing people to do stuff. So it's like a different covert way of controlling the population where you're like one of them, as opposed to like watching them from the outside. So that was fun. Now, let's get into Snowden.
Yeah.
Because I have some fun things.
Tell me stuff.
Because everyone, so when we were watching this, one of the thoughts I had was I was uncomfortable because I was like, they're just making him out to be like this hero. Like he was doing this and he's this valiant, like honest-steed knight. And I was like, don't get me wrong, what he did is great.
Yeah.
It's like, it is enlightening when you think about like what we know now versus what we only could think about or like imagine was happening, right?
Yeah.
We know to the extent of which these things are happening. And so, but I just felt like uncomfortable because I was just like, but he was there, and I feel like we're not getting the whole truth.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like The Making of a Murderer or any other documentary where we're clearly only getting one side of a story because it is, you know, like swayed towards a specific audience. Well, one thing I thought about when I think about surveillance is here in Pennsylvania, actually, there was look at that, I've already, like, now people know where we are. They already know because they listen, but.
Yeah. We say Philly all the time. What do you mean?
In Pennsylvania, school was caught monitoring students. They gave out computers to like their honor roll students or something like that, and then they were tapping into their webcams. And this kid was in trouble and was accused of improper behavior in their home. Like, in quotations. That was the thing. And the parents were like, excuse me, what? Yeah. And we're like, you're watching our kids, that's not allowed, right? But it's like, we gave you this computer, we're watching you. And when I was talking to my friend Sergio, who's been on this show before, he was like, oh, that's awful, that's crazy. And then he was like, but it is helpful if there was like a kid who had intentions to like shoot up the school or like hurt another kid or like commit. And I was like, exactly. That's exactly the things that they will use is like, because in order to find that one kid who's threatening anyone, they have to watch all of them. Yeah. And you think they're just going to turn a blind eye to all these minimal things when they can just get kids in trouble? Like, that's not how it works, especially now here in Pennsylvania where you had kids for cash, locking them up in the 4 cash prisons in juvie for little minimal things. There was a girl in Kids for Cash who wrote some note about her principal, and they locked her up. She lost like 4 years of her life in juvie for a Facebook message. Wild, right? So that's real life. So, so there's all these things where I was just like, this is essentially like that's the justification of the entire government in watching all of its citizenship, right? Yeah. Is that we are protecting them from potential terrorists and the people who could be traitors, right? So this is how we get this wonderful film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah. So in The Guardian, there is a great, and I definitely lived on The Guardian for this episode. There's an article that I immediately clicked on. It was just like going to explain everything. So I was like, I need this, right? It says, Edward Snowden, NSA files decoded. So they mention that cell phones, laptops, Facebook, Skype, chat rooms all allow the NSA to build what is called a pattern of life, which is a detailed profile of a target and anyone associated with them. Metadata. Yes, exactly. And much of the NSA's defense is that the public should be unconcerned. Essentially, they say, like, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Which is, like, the most privileged thing to say. It's like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong. Yeah. And it's like, the society we live in is actively hurt people who aren't doing anything wrong and then making it seem like they did something wrong. Yeah. So, well, no one is safe. No one is safe. So, like, essentially, just like in the game and it, like, because of Snowden, what he said, like, in the game, you don't need to be, like, talking to a terror suspect or be a terror suspect to have your communications data be analyzed because of the whole 3 hops from its target idea. Yeah. So this is the idea that, like, so they have this in this article, which you guys should definitely check out. It's really cool. There's like this thing where you put in like how many Facebook friends you have, and then it shows you the 3 hops. So, like, for example, I have 365 friends on Facebook, which I slimmed down. I used to have a ridiculous amount, and I was like, I don't know these people. Yeah. So 365 friends, right? When I translate this to the 3 hops idea, the second degree or second hop, which is like friend of my friends, could equal up to 50,000 people. right? And then from there, the third hop in the third degree, so the friends of the friends of friends, could be upwards of 9,745,339 people.
That's so
Right?
many.
And if you were like you're a person who's like an influencer or something, you have 955 friends, which is like on the lower end of what I was looking at. You could eventually, like by the third hop, have the whole population of Australia in numbers. And this is thanks to 3 Degrees of Separation by Kenton Powell and Greg Chen, who devised this little thing for you.
That's wild.
Continuing with this article, the first Snowden document to be published by The Guardian was a secret court order showing that the NSA was collecting the telephone records of millions of U.S. customers of Verizon. And earlier in October, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee wrote in USA Today that the call records program is not surveillance. It does not collect the content of any communication, nor do the records include names or locations. So they're trying to explain it away.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is we watched that video with Snowden in an interview with Joe Rogan talking about how cell phones can map you. And it's one, it pings the towers, so it knows where you are, right? It also knows who you're communicating with. It knows what's near you and knows what apps you're using.
Yeah.
It's essentially that rabbit hole of it finds one thing and it can find all these other things because of that.
Yeah.
One, because I like how he says it, you can't hear it, but your phone is screaming constantly, the signal is screaming out. And I was like, that's really funny. But it's super true. And I watch and listen and read enough true crime to know how that works.
Yeah.
Because many people get caught or try to sneak their way around it.
Yeah.
I'm running through this because there's a lot of stuff I want to say. Back to some of the things that I did not sit right with me in Snowden, in the fact that he was glorified a little bit, right? Was the fact that he kept going back in it. And it wasn't ever because he was I'm going to go fix it from the inside. It was always I thought it would be better.
Yeah, it was a level of ignorance every time he went. He was I just thought they would change.
Yeah. I also hated how they kind of they were really heavy on American surveillance, but they glimpsed over the fact that we were watching and installing devices at our allies' power facilities so that if they no longer were allies, we could just turn off their electricity or something like that. I was whoa, now we're in science fiction. This is cyber warfare, real stuff. And it was a blip. It was a conversation we had with the lady in it. Yeah, I was hold on. And so then it was but the whole thing about the whistleblowing, and that's why they blipped over it, is that if he's doing that, that's not whistleblowing. That's just divulging American secrets, which is legal. But telling us that America's watching us without any reason, that's whistleblowing. And that's where the problems come in, because he really was just telling whatever. Other things I thought were interesting is Snowden's girlfriend. She was super confused all the time, where he was don't have nude pictures of yourself, the cloud is dangerous, or don't put a webcam. And I was whoa, remember a world when people didn't think that was real?
Yeah, or they didn't think that was possible.
That was wild. The Rubik's Cube thing is made up. If you watched it, it is really cool. But apparently the actual facility is super lax and did not have all that security. Yeah. He just walked out. So that's that. But there's a scathing review of the film and Edward Snowden himself on Slate.com, which is the first article that I actually clicked on about this film, because I was yes. And
tell me about it.
So it's called The Leaky Myths of Snowden by Fred Kaplan. And he explains that Snowden released more information than simply what would be called whistleblowing, which is the fact that Americans are being watched, right? He also gave out details about instances where America was listening and on calls from the Taliban, or the certain Pakistan known criminals, essentially. Yeah. So it was they were doing their job, and he released their information about the jobs that they were doing, and also the NSA surveillance of cell phone calls worldwide, which is just that's not a part of America. Yeah. Right. And so And in this article, Kaplan says, whatever one's views of U.S. foreign policy in those parts of the world, these activities are legitimate aspects of the NSA's charter, which involves intercepting communications of foreign powers. They have nothing to do with domestic surveillance or spying on allies. Exposing these intercepts is not whistleblowing, it's an attempt to blow U.S. intelligence operations. And while Snowden has since acknowledged that other countries do this sort of thing too, not least China and his host at the moment, Russia, he never leaked documents revealing their hacking programs, even though in his job at the NSA, he would have had access to reports and possibly raw data about them as well.
Huh.
And he says, but he like, oh yeah, I'll tell him, but he does not. So there's also so in the film, Nicolas Cage plays this character Forrester, who is based off of an actual NSA whistleblower himself, who at first when Snowden came out was like, yeah, he did it, like the kid did it. But then later when he was reading all those things, he said that it seemed like it was transitioning from whistleblower to traitor. Essentially, because of like what it is. There's also in this article shining some light on this supposed like genius that they put onto Snowden.
Yeah.
Like how he was like, oh, I finished the thing in 45 minutes, it usually takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right? This is going to be funny. So, one, he was recognized as being very talented early on, but he did not quit the CIA. He was fired.
Oh.
And this was because they weren't a good fit, which could be like in agreement with what I was saying of him being like seeing the CIA do things that weren't good and destroying people's lives in order to get information out of them.
Yeah.
Very could be that, right? When Snowden went to Hawaii, he was hired by Dell, but was essentially just a Mr. Fix-It for their computer networks. He was not someone who was involved or had any role in developing something like Epic Shelter, which wasn't even invented by Dell. The contractor did use that program.
Yeah.
So that was fabricated. There's also like this idea that for the whole Hawaii thing, that the deputy director of the NSA, who's given a fictitious name in this, was the one who was so impressed by Snowden that he was like, I need you specifically to come here and do it.
Yeah.
And so Kaplan in this article had reached out to the guy who's actually the deputy director, Chris Inglis, and he wrote back in this email, and he emphasizes that he could be quoted on the record in all caps, if you would like. And he said, the claim is simply and utterly preposterous. Both the claim that a deputy director would assign such a task to a low-level contractor that just does not happen for many, many reasons. And the idea that Snowden was working on some special project separate and apart from his contracted duties to perform system administration and SharePoint server updates. If you want to know the ins and outs of a fighter aircraft squadron's purposes, tactics, and SOPs, you don't get that from a contractor hired to refuel its airplanes.
Huh.
Yeah. So he was like, he is nothing, and it didn't make any sense why we would ask him.
Yeah.
Right? So even more because it just goes, there's also this article on Business Insider about it. And there's a former hacker with the NSA who said, I can't believe anyone listens to him. It's so infuriating. He was the help desk administrator for the government, essentially. Like this, whatever. Anyway, so the last place that he was, which is where he got the documents before he went over to Hong Kong and then eventually to Moscow, was Booz Allen. And so that whole story was like he was asked to be there, blah, 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 blah. He was there just enough to get the access to the documents he needed before leaving. So that was pretty accurate. But why he was there and how he got there is kind of rough. So he left to go get his epilepsy test on May 20th, or he flew to May 20th. And then on May 21st, he checked into the hotel where he later gave the reporters the information, but there is weeks between those two things where we don't know what he was doing. Okay. Right. So he did stay at this post just long enough to get the goods before he left. So that could seem like he did have a motive, right?
Yeah.
But here's my favorite part. So, he was like, I completed the test, 45 minutes. Well, when he was a Dell contractor, he applied for a job with the NSA's Tailored Access Operations Office, called TAO, and is where the agency's super elite hackers work.
Yeah.
To get in with it. So he took it and he failed the exam the first time. No shame in that because that happens. A lot of people, it's very hard. So then he took it again and he passed. really easily. And then after Snowden fled and the NSA security officials conducted analysis of his computer, they found that he had downloaded, under privileges as a system administrator, the questions, stole the questions and answered from the TAO exam so that he can get in there. So
Cheated.
That's why he aced the test the second time. He's a big old cheater. So, and it's like, he isn't, so there was other questions that were brought up of like his so-called being like stuck in Moscow. So it was like Obama did cancel his visa so he wouldn't be able to travel, but Moscow could just let him through, right?
Yeah.
Like they have that power. Also, it's like, but they won't, because they have an American who has whistleblown and also revealed American secrets in their country who can bend at their whim.
Yeah.
Like, you think he can go anywhere without being watched? Like, that's Russia. Okay? That's Russia. That's what they do. Apparently, there's rumors right now that the Russians are helping Bernie's campaign. Because that's fun. Because he won, like, the first three. Yeah, he won his first 3 things. And they're like, no, it's Russia. It's like, okay, sure.
Or just Bernie has, like, a really great grassroots following.
No, it could be. Yeah, so that's the hero, Snowden and Orwell. And I hope I said it was all digestible for people.
Yeah.
But I was, like, excited, like, one, to see, like, the truth of, like, what the government really is doing. I was like, whoa. But also to see that, like, I wasn't wrong in being like, this feels really one-sided.
Yeah.
Like, I always feel that about documentaries a lot of the time. So, like, with the Fire Festival documentary, there was 2. And I was like, this is great because I get all the information. And then with this, it was like, I love you, JGL, but this feels wrong.
Yeah, I don't think yours is great.
I loved it. So.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings.
So if you don't like it, it's Big Brother. Because screw that guy. Can't be watching
big
me.
And going around watching us.
Watching us stuff. You're just a big bully. Big Brother. But if you do like it, it's Little Sister.
Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah,
DW walking down the street.
Yeah. To everyone you meet. Okay. She, Little Sister, because it's the little people here who can, fight back. And wear cool masks
on.
Put the masks on your face. Put your analysis glasses on.
Prove me wrong, y'all.
Yeah. So
that we can't unite and destroy things.
Yeah. For the government surveying us through questionable means at the, in
what world would that be positive?
I don't know. You're the one who's like, we can't revolutionize.
I'm just saying I don't have
Maybe
faith
you're
in people.
One of them.
Because people are trash.
Are you trying to make us hopeless?
Gabe,
are you oh my God.
Gabe, all I'm saying is people are trash.
To stop the revolution that
I don't have faith in people. The Holocaust happened.
It's very true.
People children are in cages probably still now.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%.
So the world
people
sucks.
Are dying in cages.
We just don't care. No
Mom
one cares
was dropping her kid off at school just last week.
Yeah, at a school that we have a program at.
Yeah, she was returned later because there was no reason. Anyway.
Yeah, it was at Kirkbride.
So, yeah, Big Brother all around for surveillance. It's just a big no. And it is sad and it is hopeless because we are so comfortable and it's so easy to do, and then it's like our own fault,
Yeah, because we say yeah.
Yeah, accept the terms and conditions. There's some really great documentaries about that stuff, so definitely look them up about the great hack and stuff like that. Yeah. They're super good, especially about our elections and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because it's real. What about Orwell?
We'll take it in peace. Little Sister. I enjoyed it. What about you?
I would say it's like a medium sibling. Because
middle sister brother.
Yeah, middle sibling, middle child syndrome. Because I loved it in that I enjoy games where I'm in a computer. My favorite game, which is so funny, on the computer was this game where I was a cop. I was the chief, and I had to assign my police people out. Police? Yes, this is the police. But I liked it because you're also like, you're supposed to fight against the man, and then you're also involved with the mafia. So there was more to it than I'm just like a police officer, because that was not going to fly. But I enjoyed it because I'm just in a computer and I could just mindlessly be like, and it was very stressful.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Too.
So Orwell was also, I ran through it very quickly because I was just like, I got to get all this information. It's so crazy. But I felt bad the whole time. Same with that Norma Lost Phone. I recommend it, definitely, but like you can do it really quickly, and it's a good story, and I don't want to spoil it. That's why I didn't spoil it.
I'm just saying that I just very much accept that the computer people aren't real. So if I was like doing this in real life, I would feel bad.
Yeah, but what if they pretended it was a computer game?
Well, then that's messed up, and here we are, and it's bad.
I'm just saying, I see everything as a people.
We wouldn't all have the same prompt.
Yeah, that's true. But you don't know because I wasn't looking over your shoulder.
You said what it was.
No, I said what I vaguely remember something was. But people say turns and phrases all the time. It's like that book I was reading, and he said,
Gabe.
He said, like, meet me, or like where we're gonna shoot the president or something. Like, oh great, that's gonna be taken out of context. But he said that, and then it was like, that's our code word for meet at Denny's or something. Remember? And it was John dies at the end. There's a lot of, John always says stuff where it's like, in case our phone's being tapped, this is where we murdered that guy. And it's like, no, they're just asking me to bring you some extra smokes.
It's like, don't do that because they're going to think you murdered that guy.
Yeah, that's the whole funny part. Anyway, what about Snowden, the film? Yeah.
That's fine.
Big Brother. It wasn't bad. Yeah, it was like middle sibling.
Middle sibling and all over town.
Yeah, middle child.
But yeah, guys, we're all going to watch. It's like scary. I don't know. Maybe we should care about it. Do you care?
Do you? Probably not. Yeah.
I like care, but I also don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Because I want my phone apps.
Yeah. I want my little fingerprint so I can get to the webtoons faster.
We're trash. It's so awful. We're all trash. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to fix it. And I like don't know if like not even just for myself. It's just like I don't think.
Yeah, anyone's they're not gonna do it. And then you all have that idea of like, I didn't do it. Like, yeah. But it is like, your privacy, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're saying, I'm sure you have web history you don't want people to know about.
Sure everyone does.
Yeah.
Not me. But you probably.
Right, I guess I'll just look at your web history after this.
You can. I don't think there's actually anything in there.
And then,
I wouldn't do that on my work computer.
Okay, I'll look at your tablet.
I don't have a tablet. It's also my work tablet.
Whatever. Get a life.
No,
Be interesting.
everything belongs to my job. If I get fired, then I don't have any technology anymore.
You got nothing. Well,
I'm off the grid. Solutions.
Now you all can feel as guilty as we do because now you know.
Yeah.
And now you're involved. You're just in as deep as the rest of us, and you're still being surveyed. And hey, FBI agent that's listening to this, NSA guy, like give us a like or subscribe, share it.
Yeah.
Like we won't mind. I hope you got a kick out of this.
If you want to show everyone else at the NSA our podcast.
I mean, it's a listen.
And then they go in there and they like it on iTunes and they're like, yeah.
Please comment on our iTunes if you are an NSA agent. Use a decoy or whatever, but just be like, NSA is watching you. I would love for that. Be like, yes, I'm on the list. Like, Mom, I finally made it.
We're famous. We're on the list.
Yeah.
Not on the ones that you thought we wanted to be on, but here we are.
We're on some. Anyway, don't get married.
They'll eat your kids. Gonna be taken out of context.
Yeah.
We're not eating kids.
It's too late.